So the next couple of videos are all about tables, which are most important part of SQL. They are the true heart of using SQL, and in this first video we'll start off by setting the stage or setting the table, if you let me get away that for the how they work and how what they are, and then we'll dive into data types, and they will actually create tables and see the code that you use to or create them. So let's get started. The first thing you should know that is that database is just a bunch of tables. So we have already created a couple of empty databases and deleted them as well. But what goes in them are just a bunch of tables. That's where the data is stored as a short aside. This is in relation database, so everything we are talking about uses SQL, things like MySql, Postgres, SQL, like those who are relation databases, and they use tables, they use table data. But not every single database in the world does. And we'll see some examples of those later on. This course is not about those types. It helps us to kind of bring them and show you some contrast to what you're learning, so we'll solve it later on. So shut a short. So tables holds the data, that's my definition. If you want a boring Wikipedia definition, it looks like this. Tables are a collection of related data held in a structured format within a database. Hopefully you are still awake after that. But let's take a quick example using cats. So we're going to model some cat data using a table. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the cats table. Drum roll these. That or die. I know it's pretty hilarious. You're probably falling out my chair. Alright, so the real cats, at least in this context, doesn't have an astropathy. Looks something like this. And of course, there are a million different ways we could break down the data for cat modeling cats. In my case, I just went with a name, breed, and age. So we could do plenty of other things like location, gender, spade is neutered, that sort of thing. But just doing name, breed, and age. So I've put a couple of cats in here. We've got Flu, who's 40-fold, who's 1 year old. That's my cat. I've got Rocket, who's Persian, who's 3 years old. Totally made of Monty, who is Stabby, who is 10 years old. That is my childhood cat. He's kicking and biting people. We've got Sam, who is Munchin. If you don't know what the breed is, look what they're pretty hilarious. Although Pender said they have really stubby legs, who's 5 years old also. Okay. So some Synology we are talking about is about tables, and you hear the term columns it's referring to. Headers on that table. So what are different components of data, the different pieces that have to be there? In our case, we have name, breed, and age. So those are the columns, and then the rows are actually data in that table. So here a row, blue cats is one row, pocket is another row, Monty is another row, Sam it's another row. I really wish those lined up correctly, but I'll just draw myself. Not trying to get it work, please forgive me. Anyways, so database are made up of lots and lots of these tables. It's actually not just one, and if you have just a really simple app and you are just storing one thing, then it will just be one. But usually apps are pretty complicated, data is complicated, and data we have modeled. But imagine if this cat was actually an app. Let's say it was a pet setting app and cats were on one thing that we had to keep track on it, but we have also have to keep track of owners and that the pet sitters and address and data and dates and appointments and payments, and those are all going to be tables. Some of them might even to be multiple tables, but for now we're not going to really worry about too much about that, which shows you how to sometimes it will just get crazy. You can click this link, or I'll click follow my instructions to see the breakdown of some of the tables that Facebook database or a social network might use in their database. So this is not actual, it's not 100% accurate. There are things that are missing or incomplete, but it just shows the different tables, or at least some of the different tables involved in a pretty complex tab. So as you can see that there's a bunch of them here. Things like accounts and events and message notification, website, screen name, address, blah blah blah. All these different things to take into consideration. So things can get messy. As you can see progress in this course, you will start working with multiple tables. You will see how they connect, but we haven't even seen how to create a single table yet. So we are going to focus on such a individual tables and then we'll move on.